This is Look Up Weekend, and we have so much lined up for you, from the political scene all the way to social issues. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Philista Adundo. My name is Brian Amwai, but first, these are the top stories tonight.
The news headlines in association with
Tonight on Look Up Weekend.
We are calling upon the government as of now to give it a priority to make sure that our people does not starve.
Church leaders urge the government to fast-track food distribution in hunger-torn areas as the government warns against diversion of the relief food.
The lessons that we learned in COVID-19, the need for preparedness, the need for adequate staff training, adequate PPEs, personal protective equipment, which we have more than enough actually.
Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital assures Kenyans of measures put in place to combat Ebola virus after one suspected case was reported in Mumias. And
wasee sio wologi. Useeka sio wologi. Hata wewe kijana utaseeka ukue kama mimi mzee utachoma. Hiyo ni ukweli ama ni uongo?
Acts of violence against the elderly condemned as Kenya joins the world in marking International Day for Older Persons.
Yippee! Kamata plotting at 349k. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the Cedar Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optiven's plot of land, you get 10k cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
You can be part of this program by engaging us on our socials. That is at Amwai Brian on Twitter, at Lookuptv. The hashtag to use is Look Up Weekend. You send us your feedback on our socials, on Facebook at Lookuptv, and we'll be able to sample some of it at the end of the program tonight. Now, clergymen drawn from Free Pentecostal Church and representatives from the National Council of Churches (NCCK) have issued a passionate appeal to President William Ruto to double up efforts of supplying relief food to alleviate the effects of persistent drought across various counties. Led by Free Pentecostal Church Bishop John Kitur, the leaders say the situation on the ground is dire, and if adequate measures are not taken with haste, then the country will face a humanitarian crisis. And as our reporter Henry Tende now files, the clergy have issued a clarion call for all Kenyans to join hands and save the lives of affected individuals.
In a consecration ceremony to install new national leaders of the Free Pentecostal Church, the clergy members led by Bishop John Kitur and graced by representatives from the National Council of Churches of Kenya (NCCK) have appealed to President William Ruto to move with speed and double up food supply efforts to save many Kenyans from starvation due to the biting effects of drought.
We are calling upon the government as of now to give it a priority to make sure that our people does not starve. I know the government is facing a lot of challenges, but I think the issue of food security should actually be given a priority.
Bishop Kitur says the situation of Kenyans from the affected regions the church has visited is very heartbreaking and has called for concerted efforts to alleviate the problem.
So friends, even those of us who are here, and of course I can see each one of us is not angry here, you can also contribute and do something, so that only we don't seek food from partners outside this nation, but we can also do the same in our country, Kenya. Because there are those people who does not know how to sleep without food, but there are people who can go for days and months without eating anything. So as a nation, we need to come together and help our people and also challenge the government. Our plea as a church, we ask the government to give a priority to the food security.
With over 4 million Kenyans in direct need of immediate food aid, Free Pentecostal Church has remained steadfast in supply of food and water, though admit the problem is huge. This, the church calls for radical measures from all concerned Kenyans to save fellow Kenyans.
Quite a number of our fellow countrymen are affected by the drought. And as a church, we have moved and try our best with the little resources that we have to make sure that people don't die because of hunger. And as Free Pentecostal Fellowship in Kenya currently, we are giving a lot of food in Turkana County. And around 11,000 children who are going to school, FEFK have taken the responsibility to give them food.
Yes, the drought situation is tough, but we thank God as a church we are distributing food in different areas, like in areas of Kajiado County, areas of Turkana. The GS has done his part with the board and we are distributing food. And the women ministry, we are saying that we are reaching out to the needy and we are saving and we are also giving to the ones who don't have food.
As part of continued humanitarian work, Free Pentecostal Church has set aside over 30 million additional funds that will go into buying food for some of the affected families in the coming weeks. The church has appealed to other churches to do the same. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Now, still on matters. In the ongoing efforts to alleviate the dire hunger facing Kenyans, Garissa County Commissioner has passed a stern warning against diversion of relief food being transported to affected households. This comes after President William Ruto dispatched relief food set to benefit 3.5 million Kenyans affected by drought that has ravaged 23 counties. Garissa remains on the alert phase with a total of 336,000 people affected. Cecilia Lubanga now reports.
After 4 consecutive missing rain seasons, drought and hunger have characterized at least 23 counties, and as the government tries to mitigate the situation, Garissa County Commissioner Boaz Cherotich has cautioned those handling the relief food against diverting it for other purposes other than the intended one.
Very keen at monitoring any issue which will be reported in cases of diversion of food will be dealt with family.
The food is part of the consignment that was flagged off by President William Ruto on Monday to famine-stricken families. Ruto said the relief food is set to benefit 3.5 million Kenyans affected by the drought. In Garissa, a total of 336,000 people have been affected, translating to 56,000 households.
Nashukuru chakula tumeletewa na serikali za Kenya. Hii ni miradi moja mzuri sana, watu wako na mashida hapa na pale.
We have accompanied the county commissioner as part of witnessing the food, the stuffs that were released to us by the national government, which was flagged off last week by the president.
All the 10 sub-counties will receive a total of 2,000 bags of rice, 3,600 kilograms bags of beans, and 1,000 bags of canned beef. Members from the county government, World Food Programme, the National Drought Management Authority, Kenya Red Cross, among other players, are set to implement the exercise to completion.
I can comfortably say that fear is dispelled. The president has assured us that nobody will die for hunger.
The county commissioner has appealed the local leaders to help monitor the exercise to completion.
To sit and ensure that this food is repeated to be serving Kenyans. All chiefs have been instructed to ensure that no food is diverted elsewhere.
The National Drought Management Authority will procure livestock feeds which are expected in the next 2 weeks. Cecilia Lubanga, Lookuptv.
All right, now, thank you so much, Cecilia Lubanga, for that report. Now, the government is set to expand irrigation schemes and revive stalled ones across the country to help increase food security. Now, in the project, pastoralist communities affected by the recurring famine will be given priority as the schemes targets to provide adequate water for farming and ensure food security.
Climate change in many parts of the country, accompanied by unreliable rain, has contributed to huge losses for farmers. And as the government continues to put up measures to mitigate the situation, the Preparation Medium-Term Plan Strategy Group in Nakuru led by Secretary Saitoti Torome, emphasized on the expansion and strengthening of agriculture through irrigation with a focus of crop diversification.
One of the challenges that we are facing as a nation is actually the food shortage or the food insecurity. And that's why we are giving more emphasis. We have to reduce particularly the cost of inputs like fertilizer, and also we have to now start thinking about things like irrigation instead of relying on the rain-fed. Like now, because of this drought that has persisted for quite some time, this has really affected the agricultural output because as a country we rely so much on the rain-fed agriculture. So in the MTP4, we are going to emphasize more now on irrigation.
The move is aimed at reducing poverty and improving food security, and subsequently, the standard of life for rural populations.
We are not going even to rely so much on these mega dams. We are going to make sure that small dams are actually developed in the rural areas so that water can be available, and when water is available, we can be able to grow food and the country will become self-sufficient.
Torome further reiterated that President Ruto's government is committed to ensuring that small businesses have access to affordable credit services.
The government that has won the election is also able to deliver its promises to the people. We incorporate their manifesto in the MTP. And when we come up with the MTP, the county governments are also supposed to align their county integrated development plans with the with the MTP. So MTP is very important. It's actually like the backbone. Then all the others, they feed in.
Rhoda Muringo, Lookuptv.
Right now, thank you so much, Rhoda Muringo, for that. Moving on, it is the dream of many young people to get a university degree and realize their dreams. But for Duncan Lukangu, a young man from Mumias, Kakamega County, seeking further studies has been an uphill task. Due to financial constraints occasioned by, among other reasons, his mother's illness. Now, his family is now calling on well-wishers and the government to help raise his university fees.
This is Duncan Lukangu, a troubled student who has been forced to stay home due to lack of school fees as his fellow students proceed to further their education in various universities. We meet him at his rural home in Shitoto village, Mumias, Kakamega County, and just like any other day, Duncan keeps himself busy with various household chores. Duncan Lukangu's father passed on 19 years ago, leaving him with his mother, 3 siblings, and an elderly grandfather. His mother, Joy Masnaswa, says that despite the challenges she has encountered in educating her children after the death of her husband, Duncan successfully sat for his KCSE examinations and scored B-.
Nimejaribu jinsi niwezavyo kwa njia tu kidogo kidogo kimasomo primary, hivyo tu nikijikaza kwa nafanya tu vibarua wakienda shule, wakafanikiwa kujiunga na shule ya upili. Na nimekuwa na changamoto katika fees. Wiki moja watoto wako nyumbani, wiki mbili shule, wiki mbili nyumbani. Na chenye kimekuwa kikinisaidia sana, zingine na uzako mti, wanakuja wanachukua kuni. Mtoto anasomako mwezi mmoja tena anafukuzwa. Sasa niko na mwenye anataka kwenda chuo kuu, hajaingia mpaka saa hii. Wenzake waliingia tarehe 22 Agosti. Na yeye bado hako kwa sababu sijafanikiwa kupata pesa ya yeye kuingia. Na niko tena na wa form 4 pia angali hako hapa kwa sababu ya school fees. Hajaenda bado, wenzake wamefungua.
With nostalgia, Duncan remembers receiving an admission letter to join Egerton University, where he was supposed to pursue a course in electrical engineering. However, due to poverty, Duncan's dreams came to a halt.
Ndio nimekumbwa na masaibu mbalimbali ambapo kuwa school fees imekuwa ngumu, lakini kwa neema za Mwenyezi Mungu mama alitoa miti akata nini, ikabidi nikasoma hadi kidato cha 4 na nikafanikiwa. Nilipata grade ya B-, whereby I was supposed to join at Egerton University on 22nd August 2022. Mara kwa mara nimekuwa nikarudishwa nyumbani. Kama bado niko shule ya upili, nakaa nyumbani mwezi mzima, tena narudi huko, tena wananifukuza. Tena mara ya pili nikirudi nyumbani naanza kustruggle na mambo ya ng'ombe, mambo ya nini, mambo ya ukulima, mimi mwenyewe tu kutafuta 1 na 2 ili niweze nikarudi shuleni kusoma. Na kwa neema za Mwenyezi Mungu nilifanya hizo vibarua pole hadi nikaenda shule nikamaliza kidato cha 4.
Filled with remorse, his grandfather Eliud Walekwa says that Duncan has taken an unusually long time to complete his education as he was frequently sent home from school due to lack of school fees. His mother's illness as well strained the family's meager resources further. The family is now calling on area MCA and MP who they voted for to come to their rescue and help Duncan realize his dreams.
Hana msaidizi. Mama yake ameshungulika na tena mama yake tena ni mgonjwa. Mara kwa mara hospital. Sasa mimi nimeona kama mngetusaidia watoto hawa wamalize. Mtoto huyu amalize shule, nasema ni asante kwa msaada wenu.
Susan Jerry, Lookuptv.
Right, now we do hope that Duncan gets the help that he needs in order to further his education and pursue his dreams. Right, now that story by Susan brings us to our first break here on the program. Don't go too far, we'll be back with more, including a story on matters Ebola, that a case has just been reported in the country. We'll be telling you where and how to keep yourself safe in regards to that.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Naru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly 1-year installments plan.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about to pressure the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni hapa kazi tu.
Right, now thank you so much for staying with us here on the program and trusting us to continue updating you on what is happening across the country. Now, on matters health, the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital has assured Kenyans that the facility is ready to combat Ebola outbreak in the country. This comes barely a day after the first suspected Ebola case was reported in Mumias, Kakamega County. Sami Adika with the details.
Speaking during the signing of the first CBA between the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital and Clinical Officers Union in Eldoret, the Referral Hospital CEO Wilson Arwasa has affirmed that the hospital has already set up a task force that will be identifying any suspected Ebola case and isolate the patients for further treatment.
I said we are on the Trans-Africa Highway that comes from Mombasa all the way to Sudan. And I would like to say that we are ready, and you saw it during the COVID-19. You see, the approach is similar, that we have a task force that is ready and the staff have been put on the alert to make sure that any suspected cases are quickly identified and isolated, tested and treated accordingly.
Arwasa has further applauded the World Health Organization (WHO), the Ministry of Health and KEMSA for equipping the hospital with the necessary resources to combat flu-like outbreaks.
You know, the lessons that we learned in COVID-19, the need for preparedness, the need for adequate staff training, adequate PPEs, personal protective equipment, which we have more than enough actually. From the COVID era, we have enough, and we must also laud the Ministry of Health and KEMSA because they have supplied adequate PPEs to all facilities.
Peterson Washira, the chairperson of Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, has noted that the signing of the CBA will not only motivate the health practitioners, but also improve service delivery to the common mwananchi.
Tripartite setting of an employer, an employee and a government is to entrench democracy within the workplace so that the employee as they work, they feel that they actually contribute to how they are managed by the employer. And it has been shown by many researches that actually this contributes to increasing productivity. And when you increase that productivity, you are then rendering better and quality services to mwananchi.
On their side, the clinical officers have expressed hope that the new CBA will address their challenges while urging other counties to embrace the same, including private entities.
We acknowledge that indeed this is the first CBA we are getting, that we expect it to be registered in a few days to come. And indeed, this set a pace for other institutions, including the county government through the COG, and also the Ministry of Health, KNH, KUTDRH, and many other institutions.
Samedika, Lookuptv.
All right, now Kenya has joined the world in marking International Day of the Elderly, now to appreciate the contribution of the elderly in society under the theme Resilience of Older Persons in a Changing World. The elderly in Nyagonyi, Kisii County were celebrated as the community was called upon to ensure their safety by protecting them against acts of violence often meted on them. Let's take a look. The International Day of the Elderly was introduced by the United Nations General Assembly with the aim of honoring the contribution of older persons and looking into the problems that they face. Older people make significant contributions to society via volunteer work, passing on experience and knowledge and assisting their families with different responsibilities. While marking the day in Kenya, the national government, civil society organizations and gender activists have condemned cultural practices that brought suffering to the elderly.
We are here to mark the World Elderly Day, to mark in Nyagonyi, being that here we had victims, we had even survivors. Na because of the impact it created in Kisii, ni vizuri sana kwamba tumekuwa hapa na tuko hapa siku ya leo kuidhinisha hii siku na kupeana umuhimu wa kuchunga mzazi aliye kati ya miaka 60 kuendelea juu.
We cannot ignore the fact that older people have made a significant contribution in society. And two, unfortunately, society has never appreciated those contributions that older people have made. And thirdly, the context and environments within which we live, again, are quite discriminatory, starting with the legislation through policies and programs for older people. There are few of those compared to other population age groups.
Marking the occasion at Nyagonyi in Marani Sub-County, they called for adherence to the United Nations and African Union protocols on old persons.
Wasee sio walogi. Useeka sio walogi. Hata wewe kijana utaseeka ukue kama mimi mzee, utachoma. Hiyo ni ukweli ama ni uongo? Wacha kusumbua wasee na wamama, sio walogi. Nigusee wanasika hawa wasee. Hata nyinyi mtakuwa wasee kama sisi.
This year, Kenya ratified the protocol to the African Union on older persons and the persons with disabilities rights. So Kenya as a member state to the UN statutes and the African Union statutes we like to ensure that we conform or follow the international rules in terms of taking care of everybody or every segment of the society.
Nyagonyi shot into international limelight last year when 4 elderly women were forcefully pulled out of their houses by marauding youth and lynched in broad daylight on allegations of being witches.
We were here last year tukipigania the Marani 4 women that were lynched on allegation ya witchcraft, na today tukaona ya kwamba itakuwa mzuri sana kuleta zote tunazokuwa nazo, kuleta malalamishi, kuleta shukran, kwa sababu tangu last year I think it has taken some time hatujasikia kesi ingine ya lynching.
Director of Social Development Lesen Mogaka disclosed that Kisii County had 88,200 elderly people over 60 years and above, 16 of who were victims of abuse. He attributed their plight to land limitations, lack of resources and cultural practices, including the non-inheritance of land by daughters and widows. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv. Now, the family of missing security analyst Mwenda Mbijiwe is calling on the government to help them find their kin. A renowned security expert who went missing over 1.5 years ago without a trace. Mbijiwe vanished on June 12, 2021 as he was traveling from Nairobi to his mother's home in Sirmon, Meru County. Now, the following day, a car he had hired for business was discovered abandoned in a coffee plantation near Tatu City, Kiambu County. Since then, his family has been searching for him in vain.
Up to now, I don't use my phones. Each and every person that I can talk to, that guy will be tracked. I've gone for DNA tests like 7 times. No positive results about my bro, of which comes to a summary that gives us a lot of faith and hope that my brother is very much alive.
Na wakati Deputy President alipokuwa area hii yetu, alisema ya kwamba Mwenda amezuiliwa na watu wakubwa, na kwa hivyo tuna imani ya kwamba Mwenda yuko hai na serikali inajua mahali yako, kulingana na maneno ambao Deputy President wetu ambaye tunapenda sana alivyoyaongea. Na kwa hivyo tuna imani sababu anatusikia na anasikia atatuona mahali tu aliko. Tafadhali kumbuke hiyo ni ahadi moja aliyotuahidi wakati wa kampeni ya kwamba wakiingia katika serikali watatutolea Mwenda mahali yako na watuletee.
Now, Keme Loi Boys Secondary School in Nandi County has been closed indefinitely after students went on strike during the Friday evening preps. Now, the students decried bad leadership in the school and demanded a transfer for the school principal. Now, this and other stories in our county roundup.
Kemeloi Boys Secondary School in Aldai, Nandi County has been closed until further notice after students went on strike for the 3rd time this year. The students cited embezzlements of funds, wastage of resources, over-registration of students, and poor living conditions in the dormitories as some of the reasons they retaliated.
Wanafunzi wametoa malalamishi mengi sana, and I want to give a rejoinder as Corporate Secretary Nandi County. Hatutasimama na hatutaona kama shule inaenda kupotea.
There is a problem in this school and the ministry should come in and sort it out as fast as possible. We do not want to see a school which we founded, gave it a solid foundation, being taken to ruins.
Meanwhile, anti-female genital mutilation crusaders have taken the conversation to learning institutions, proposing that the campaign against the cut and other detrimental cultural practices be entrenched in the curriculum.
I also want to believe that perhaps what we can even do more is to see how some of these things find their way into the curriculum. Yes, we do this, but a lot of the time you find that this is covered as, extracurricular activities. They are not directly inbuilt into our curriculum, and even when we do it, the curriculum does not really give a lot of prominence to some of these issues. So yes, one way we can do it as institutions is to make it find its way into the curriculum so that we give it adequate time.
The stakeholders emphasize that if the cultural issues are integrated in the curriculum, Then students will get better understanding through forum discussions and engagements.
Through integrated education, if you ask me, then I think we are more likely to succeed because we are able to get different perspectives of the same.
Elsewhere, Blueband Company and other stakeholders in Nairobi have partnered to run a campaign dubbed the Good Breakfast Campaign that aims at promoting a nutritious breakfast among school-going children. The campaign, which was started in 2016, has so far reached 12 million children this year.
And basically, this is about educating mothers and parents the importance of good breakfast. This campaign so far has reached over directly over 4 million kids and indirectly close to 12 million children. And the importance for this is that we give a 21-day challenge where children or kids in school are able to record what they have been taking for breakfast. Because you know the importance of breakfast in today's day and age. Children will need energy in school to concentrate in their academic studies.
The campaign started in the outskirts of Nairobi and is targeting other parts of the country before the end of this year.
We targeted central and western region deliberately because last year when we launched our porridge, we focused mainly in Nairobi because we were still within the restrictions of COVID. This year when things opened up, we said we will start in the outer parts of the county coming in, but it's our commitment to roll out the program continuously across the entire country.
Marlon Alando, Lookuptv.
All right, now we are done with updating you on everything that has been happening in the country, and I believe now you're up to date. I want to say thank you so much for your time. Brian King says he was tuned in the bulletin. Thank you so much for making time for this program tonight. All right, now on behalf of everyone that has made it a success, I want to thank you so much for watching. Let's do this again next time. I want to wish you a lovely weekend as it ends and week ahead. All right, our sign language interpreter tonight has been Philista Adundo. Have yourselves a lovely night.